Hey, can anybody hear me? Is anybody even there? Probably not, because YouTube absolutely sucks. Okay, let me know if you can hear me. And get my filter dialed in. That's too much. All right, I hope this is the right link. Looks like one person's watching at least. Deep breaths. YouTube is so annoying. I tried to edit the title, and then it started making it where I was posting a whole new live video. It made me take a new thumbnail and everything. So I tried to back out of that. So I have no idea if it worked. I'm afraid that now I'm on a different link than the one that I've been sharing. So if anybody knows, that's my point in talking about it. Part of the point. The other is to spread the word of how annoying YouTube is. Anyway, if you can, if you got here via the link that I posted, please let me know. Otherwise, it looks like I might be talking to one other person. How about that thumbnail? If anybody even got to see it. I been doing some video practice so I can learn about taking video. And so I took screenshots from it. All right. Without anybody watching, I don't know if anybody's hearing me. It says one person's watching, but maybe that's me. No, because I get to 0 sometimes. All right, so I just got to talk, I guess. Well, here I am, as many of you know, but if there's anybody new here, I got my horses there, 2 of them. I got one running loose. I can let the mares run loose 1 at a time right now, and they won't leave the property. They don't normally leave the property, but because I'm not irrigating, and they don't like to look for grass, they took off, so I'm pinning them up now. But like I said, I can leave 1 loose because they won't run off by themselves. Like there's areas where there's green grass, like over by the creek and up there by the road, but for some reason it's not good enough for them. They, I don't know. Horses are weird. When you let them eat freely, you find out that they really do have a lot more preferences than you think, than when you just give them hay all the time. They eat the same hay all the time because it's all they got. But when they got choice, well, they like to express it. Like I'll look at grass thinking, why aren't you eating that? It looks good to me. I mean, as far as human goes. But they'll just ignore it and go for something else. So it's fun to watch. Fun to watch and learn. It's kind of my philosophy of people and animals is watch what they do on their own, the choices they make on their own, and see where they go. Because personally, I think we all need to do that to ourselves. Watch where we make our decisions and decide, is that really me or is that conditioning? And am I really making the decisions that I want to make? If I were genuinely free to make decisions, like they say, there's that saying, if you were gonna die tomorrow, if you're gonna die this week, what would you do? And I don't think anybody ever answers, oh, I'd go to my job. One of my big nightmares. I don't dwell on it, but it's hard to kind of wake up to the reality of how I lived my life for so many years. And it really was to please others. And now it's to please my dogs. She says, yup. Lots of good food and belly rubs. This is what your life was meant to be, according to the gospel, according to Madness. Madness is my dog's name. There's Comanche Moon, and the rooster is right over there. So, it's a good summer Saturday morning, and we are having a killer summer this year. Like yesterday was supposed to be in the 90s, and I don't think it got there here. It did in town. I had to go to town. I went to Ellensburg. Well, no, I went to downtown here first, and then went to Ellensburg. And I think it was a 91 according to my van's temperature reading. But it never got that hot out here. And then in the afternoon, it got cloudy and a breeze. So it was super pleasant. We were just having the best summer. So, I mean, yeah, it'd be better if it was only in the 70s, but I live in Yakima, so I'm not talking about make-believe. Just pulled a tick off my dog. They have slowed down. There's less ticks, but they're still pretty bad. They seem to slow as it dries out. But as I always mention, I got the wrong idea about tick populations because I had chickens. I didn't realize that when I had 20 chickens, they were eating all the ticks and keeping them down, because now that I don't have them each year, the first year without my chickens, I was like, man, we really got a lot of ticks this year. And then it took me a couple years to realize, oh, it had to be the chickens. Another tick. Finding ticks is like striking gold. Get a dopamine hit from it. You got to get them because I don't want them to stay attached and cause Lyme disease. I heard that if you get them quick, they don't have time, but I don't know how quick that really is. I don't know, I kind of take it as a personal, it's kind of competitive for me. Whoops. This mare, she's so mean. Granted, she gets along with him better when I'm not around, but when I'm around, like, I'll see them from a distance just standing together, and then when I come around, she starts pushing him around and being mean. She pins her ears back and kicks at him. And horses are funny. The gelding doesn't like it, obviously, but he just hangs out with her anyway. And then my other mare, she's over here. She was in heat. I think it's cooled down because she was tagging along with him and being nice. Now she's back to pinning her ears and pushing him around. So I guess she's not in heat anymore. And, it's fun living with animals. Well, yep. Craig Curtis said it's loud and clear. Thank you, I appreciate that. Did I feel the earthquake tsunami? No, because I'm on the, I mean, I guess I still could have felt the earthquake, but I'm on the east side of Washington state, and we're like a different state over here from Seattle, from the coastline. Even Seattle is in from the coast. I always think of it as close to the coast because it's got the inlet. So it's got coastal water coming in, but the coast is still up further. I'm not sleeping in the van. I'm sleeping on the ground over there. I think you can see my mattress. I've been hauling hay with my van. Oh, that's why the horse has got her nose in it. There's some good hay in the van, alfalfa. And so I gotta, see, she's friendly. So I gotta vacuum it out, but also, as long as it's warm, I like sleeping outside better than in the van. Even though when I sleep in the van, I keep the doors open. There's just something about not having a roof over you. It's a lot more pleasant. And let's see, last night This morning I actually woke up and it was chilly, so that was nice. 2 nights ago it was so dang warm, even at night. Even though it didn't get really hot during the day, it got into the 90s. But then it stayed warm at night. It probably got to the mid 60s or so, maybe low 60s. But woke up pretty warm. Dead Wolf Resistance. Oh, you cut hay? I didn't know that. Do you cut and sell it? Also, remind me which state you're in, if you don't mind. Craig asked if I've got any property buyers. I might have a buyer on this property, so if that works out, I'm going to be sad to leave this place for sure. But I mean, it's the right move. It's nice to have a cool summer here, but I'm setting up things to where I could handle my other property. For those of you who don't know, my other property is out even more in the desert than this. This is a valley floor, but my other one's out in the desert with the only water is my artesian well, and the heat just pounds out there. However, I've been going out there occasionally because I got some firewood, and it's cooler out there for sure. I mean, it's about the same temperature as here, so it's always about 4 or 5 degrees cooler here than in town, which is typically what my weather app gives me, the temperature for in town. But anyway, so it is a little cooler, but it no protection from the sun, so it gets pretty intense. But with my tiny cabin, I'm remodeling it. I just got some flooring yesterday, so I'm super excited about that. I didn't want to just throw down OSB for flooring. And around here, materials are really expensive in this state, the closer you get to Seattle. So I wanted some tongue and groove, something tongue and groove, and sure enough, some guy had some 5-inch stuff for sale. And he wanted $300 for it. And I messaged him asking how long the lengths were, because I needed them to be at least 6.5 feet, because I didn't want to mess with the way that I'm putting the flooring down. I didn't want to do it the normal way with 3/4 inch subfloor. And then I ignored it because I didn't want to spend $300 on materials. Well, he messaged me out of the blue saying, hey, do you want this for $50? I got to get rid of it. So I said, absolutely. So yesterday I went up and got that. So I'm pretty stoked. Now I can go forward and remodel that tiny cabin. Part of it's to open it up, get the insulation out, and replace it with rigid insulation on the walls, because it's just don't waste your time doing blow-in insulation in walls, because it keeps compacting to where you get a gap. So I bought some rigid insulation from a gal up in old horse gal, really neat gal. Bought some rigid insulation from her, and I'm going to put that in the walls, and then I'll throw more of that loose fill on the floor and the roof, and then do a few fix-ups to it. So I'm pretty stoked about that, because with that thing I can stay cool out at my other property, and then I can also dig that hole. I need to be out there to finish, keep digging that hole, and if I'm out there and it's hot, then I'll be more motivated, because it'll be a cool relief once I get it done. So that's a report on selling my property and what would be in the future. Dead Wolf Resistance, I forgot you're North Dakota. Maybe I keep forgetting. I can't remember names. Have we chatted about me coming out there? Or I know there's more than one person in North Dakota that watches. So anyway, and my movie. So my thumbnail, I really like that thumbnail. It's a little bit washed out in the colors. It wasn't quite as intent. But for using my iPhone, I'm pretty happy with it. And I've been practicing filming because even if I don't do the filming for my short film, I want to know what it takes. I want to be more knowledgeable from experience, not just up here, but like, okay, I know what it takes to set up a shot. Even if I'm not good at it, at least I know that it takes effort to figure out the right angles to get the composition. I like shots that move where the main character starts at one part and moves and then finishes in a different area or back to the same area. I like scenes like that. and and so it's tough, especially by myself, because I don't have somebody to stand, like go stand out there, now stand there, and then I can mark my spots. I have to just kind of guesstimate, and and then you hope you get the light. So you got to figure up an angle, especially when there's houses and power poles around. You don't have just 360 degrees to choose from. So you need to, and then the lighting can only come from about one direction. And I don't have a hood for my phone. They probably make them, but it's kind of, most of the stuff they sell for iPhones is kind of hokey. It's kind of hard to make it work because it's not ideal. I've got this filter on it that works great, but I had to really shop through a bunch of them. I bought two actually, and one of them was pretty hokey. This one's good. I think I bought two. Anyway, so I need a hood for my phone, but I'm not going to use my phone. It's just for practice. So anyway, I've been practicing, like I say, to figure out so that I can, like I say, have a better idea when I'm working with they call it a director of photography, and the guy that runs the cameras, even though it's videography, they call it director of photography. And so when I'm working with one, that way I can know a little more about what I'm doing, but hopefully find a guy that's experienced so he doesn't have to do as much trial and error as I do. So that's why I've been filming every morning, and it's worked great for working with my horse, because as many of you know, I can't get her to ride forward, and it's the same problem I had last year, and I haven't spent enough time on it. But now, the other thing is working with horses, I way overthink. That's my issue with dealing with horses, is I overthink things, and that it's not effective. There's two places that you don't want to overthink. That's in the heat of battle and working with horses. And that's what I read. I like reading about war strategy. So that's what I hear about. The military goes off of quick, decisive. That making a quick decision is better than making a slow, good decision. So anyway, I think it's the same with horses in a lot of ways, as long as you got good intuition with them. And that's why a lot of guys are better than me at training them. But so I figured out by getting all my thoughts on the camera, like, okay, the lighting, the settings on the app, the film app, and then adjusting the filter and setting up the composition. That keeps my mind occupied. And then with my horse, because I'm doing all these shots on horseback, then I'm just making my horse do what I want. And so it's got, the main focus is on the camera work, and that way I'm not overthinking the horse. And it's worked great. She's actually carrying me around and going places that I tell her to. Sometimes I have to retake a shot because she'll stop and try to turn, and I got to make her go forward, and I just retake it. But it's been working great, so pretty happy. I think I could probably get her to ride around. I got to test her. I got to try riding her around the property and see how she does. So I'm excited about that. Dead Wolf Resistance says, if you're passing through, you can camp at my place. Oh, you're in eastern North Dakota. Oh yeah, okay. The other guy that I thought maybe you were he's in South Dakota. Okay, yeah. Getting my Dakotas confused. But I'd love to visit North Dakota and also eastern North Dakota. I do want to go out there because I want to visit one of the Laura Ingalls sites out there. I may have to move to Arkansas this winter. I have connections with Return to the Land groups. They blew up all. Oh, interesting. I haven't seen that yet. Hey, good morning, Jennifer and Rice. Glad you guys made it. So we'll see how moving to this channel works out. It's hard to know how to handle a YouTube channel if making the right decisions. So hopefully this was the right decision. Moving the live videos here because we lost a lot of people, and even recently somebody said, "Oh, I didn't even know that you moved them." So even though I post and I have talked about it a little bit, still people aren't getting them. So anyway, like I say, I'm working on that short film, and and I think I lost the guy that was gonna film it. He quit responding to my messages, and that's when I realized I had put a lot of weight on him, a lot of expectation for the final results, because he's good, but not just at filming. He's also good at directing, and was going to help me find the audio person, because having knowledge about the industry, the whole game, he can probably do it all himself, as far to a minimal skill level at least. I mean, to some skill level, he can probably do audio and everything. So he knows what he's doing, and he was going to help me find the right people, so that, because he can see through BS, just like when I was a realtor, I could see through the BS of lenders. Unfortunately, a lot of my clients didn't take my word on that and found out the hard way. But when you're in the industry, you could see through the BS. So I put a lot of, I was really counting on that guy. And I realized when he hasn't responded, I realized, oh man, I put a lot of, what am I trying to say? Put a lot of expectation on him helping. So then I went through the period of thinking, well, can I shoot it myself? I did a couple of shots, and I was encouraged, thinking, man, if I can do this on my iPhone, if I buy a nicer camera, I could probably shoot this myself. But I posted it to Reddit in the filmmakers group and asked, hey, what's your critique on this? What did I do wrong? What did I do right? And I got tons of fantastic feedback. Reddit can be extremely helpful. I got a ton of great feedback, and I don't mean, oh, it looks great, not that kind of feedback. I mean, oh, you messed up with this, you messed up with that. And so in other words, I got a whole lot of great technical feedback. So then I was excited to go out and apply that feedback. But then I found out, oh man, this is really difficult. Things like how you cut from scene to scene, keeping the horse the same size. Because if you're intentionally going from, okay, they're kind of close in this shot, and then the next shot they're distant, like you can do that, but it creates an emotion. And so that's what movie making is about, is guiding the audience's emotions. So if you want a particular emotion from the audience, but you give them a wide view with small horse and rider, that's going to create a different emotion than what you were trying to create in the scene. And a scene is a sequence of shots, if I remember right. That's a scene. And so the shots create the emotion And if you're looking for an emotion, but then you create a shot that's a cool looking shot, but conveys the wrong emotion, it can be jarring, or it can lead them, it can confuse the audience. So you got to be aware of all that stuff, so then you can apply the rules correctly. And and other things like going shot to shot. If the horse and rider walks off of the shot in one shot, then they have to be walking on the shot in the next shot and in the same direction. These are the rules. It's okay to break the rules once you learn them. You know, that's art. And they need to be close to the same size unless you're intentionally, you know, changing that. Well, it's really difficult to get shot to shot and have them a similar size. But anyway, that's the kind of feedback I got, which is fantastic. But I had to break it down. The first shot that I put out, I had the audio on it, and I had everything like it was as if it was being made for the film, even though it was just practice. And so then I broke it down. I'm like, okay, I just gotta get familiar with the distance of my subject and how it looks at the sunlight and all that. And anyway, so now I'm at this point of being discouraged with my movie. And thinking, now I lost this guy that I really knew he could do a great job. And then I got excited though. It really does excite me thinking of shooting it myself. Like, that's more my kind of thing. I like that, the idea of that. But if I can't get it together where I know what I'm doing, I don't want to put out garbage. I mean, there's always a risk that it's not going to be very good at the end. Like, oh, the story was too convoluted, or I'm not a very good actor and I'm the lead character. I didn't do that intentionally necessarily, but it's how it's working out. It saves a ton of money when I'm the guy that's on the camera the most. And so, you know, there's a chance that it'll not turn out, even if it's made really well. But I want to make it. I want it to be good quality. Otherwise, I'm not even going to do it. Like, I don't want to put out garbage. And and it's so hard to find people that, like this guy, he got it. Like, he read my script. He said, hey, I think you told me that was your first script. That's really good. And he told me he got it. He got what I was doing. Like, he described, oh, you're kind of, because right now, the way that I say it these days, TV is basic. I call it drama porn. It's all overly emotional. Like, I can't stand Yellowstone. I watched like the first 3 or 4 minutes of it, and I'm like, no, this is not for me. It's like a soap opera with cowboy hats, and all the guys are like comically macho, and I just hate that crap. And that's why everything is these days, overly emotional. And that's why mostly TV dramas, I'm never really into them. I loved Breaking Bad. That was an exception. And Game of Thrones, of course. I loved those, but they weren't, I guess Game of Thrones, you could say, had literal porn. But not necessarily drama porn. Maybe it started getting a little weird in the later seasons. And then, but anyway, so he saw that what I was doing, that I was just making this light-hearted Western, like a chapter, like just a little story that has a story to it and has an ending, but it's not like overly emotional. And it's got quite a bit of comedy in it. The more that I read it, the more I think it's funny. I didn't write it as a comedy, but I think if I can pull off these comedy scenes, it'll be really good. Craig, what was that? That one-eyed shot you did? One-eyed shot. Yeah, some of it does look good, so it's encouraging. It's just when I put them all together that it's challenging. And I mean, yeah, I've got some cool shots in them that I really enjoy, and And I like the lighting, even though you get tons of feedback on Reddit. And you gotta also know how to navigate feedback. So anyway, my head knowledge says I gotta find professionals to do the audio for me, to do the video for me, because why spend all this effort? Why waste my actor's time if I don't set this up to have the best chances of winning? However, like I said, when I realized, okay, this guy's not getting back to me, he's probably not gonna, and I started thinking, well, I'll shoot it myself. If I buy this camera, it's only a $1,200 camera. If I buy that, I can shoot it myself. And in here, inside, I was like, oh, yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited about that. Because I feel a lot of stress hiring this guy, because it's like, am I going to take advantage of his knowledge? Because I don't have a big budget. Oh, I don't have a budget yet. I got to do the crowdfunding. Like, I can't guarantee this guy a price, which he was super cool about. He said, we'll figure out the budget when you know how much money you got. And, but it stresses me out thinking, man, am I going to, because I don't like asking people for things. I don't like getting favors. I want him to be well compensated. So that stress, and then like I say, am I going to be asking him for too much? Like, because he knows so much, am I going to be, I'm paying him to do the filming, but now am I overworking him because I'm asking him, hey, this, that, this, that, this, that. But to do it by myself, that excites me. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this is exciting. And that's the intuition. So I changed the title, that's what caused me problems. Intention versus intuition. Because intuition is where you follow the things that excite you. And it's hard to say because a lot of these words that we use are the same words for negative things, which makes you wonder why we ever got negative connotations for it. But intuitive living is a very unique thing for American thought. In America, we're very intentional. Like, there's tons of stories that we actually use. Some people, if you've heard them, we use them like fables, like to teach lessons. Like, there's the story of Charles Schwab. I don't remember it well enough. I get them confused. Then was Schwab might have been the guy who combined all the steel corporations and created a huge steel empire. And he came from, whoever that guy was, the steel guy, he came from nothing. He learned about the steel industry, and he developed this plan to combine the steel company, or the steel manufacturing, something like that, and which nobody would even imagine doing at the time, and then he pulled it off. Shoot, that sidetracked me from other examples. Who are the other guys? In America, we got these stories, about guys who, well, Henry Ford and Einstein. No, not Einstein. The light bulb guy. He's used all the time for lessons of every failure isn't a failure. It's one more step toward finding the solution. Because I'm horrible with names. If somebody wants to say the name, please do. Edison, yeah. I knew it was an E name. And so he figured out the light bulb filament by trying and trying and trying and never giving up. And that's intention, and that's our. I would say that defines the American way of you stick with something because once you start it, you stick with it. And you don't give up, which is a great way to create a workforce. You make a decision, you stay with it, and it's a great way to create a submissive people. You hire them. The job sucks, but you made a decision. I lived that way too long and worked a lot of, wasted a lot of years. Versus intuition is another thing they say is don't tell people your plans. Like I've been talking on here about this short film that I'm planning to make. Most people would say you don't do that. Well, that's because it's more of a competitive feeling. It's more of a competitive approach to everything. Like the world is your competition and you're trying to win. You got to keep it secret because people are going to try and take you down. I don't care. I don't care if I make this movie. I would like to. I am passionate about it. But if it doesn't work out, if it was a bad decision, the things I'm learning along the way are my goal. My goal, my competition is to enrich this part of me and this part of me. I love learning new things. And so that's why if I talk, hey, I'm making a short film, I'm really excited about it. And then along the way, along that journey, that short film journey, I find out, you know what? I don't even want to make this, or I'm not going to make this. I'm going to do something else. All that stuff I learned along the way was the goal. So I don't care if I announce it and then I don't do it, because I have different goals than people who are looking to succeed. To me, success is way different from American view of success. I think it's the true American success, and I'll talk about that sometime in a video on this channel about what true America is supposed to be. It got sidetracked in my opinion, and I'll share that sometime. But anyway, I'm not calling off my short film. I'm just in this stage of doubt and in a slump of not believing it's possible. And not sticking with it because, gosh darn it, I made a decision. Because maybe it was a bad decision. 6 months ago, Richard Harleman is not as knowledgeable and experienced as present-day Richard Harleman. So if 6 months ago, ignorant, naive Richard Harleman made a decision, why should future me suffer for it? Like, maybe making that decision helped me grow and learn what I needed to learn. But, like I say, this intentional way of living is, well, past you, who is more naive and ignorant than current day you, gets to set the rules for present day you and future you. Like, my future could go off in a whole different direction. But if I stick to this decision that past me made, then I might not get to find that richness in the other direction, because I'm a slave to ignorant and more naive Richard. I hope that wasn't too confusing. But that's the kind of crap that is really deep in religion. I had a very religious life, and they loved that kind of thing. They loved getting young people to make year-long commitments. And I had this friend that we like doing a lot of things together, and we were gonna do something, and he said, yeah, but I made this commitment at the church. I was like, dude, we both really want to do this. I don't even remember what it is. We really want to do this, and you've been complaining about doing that. I told him, well, just stop doing that. Resign from that and let's do this. He said, I made a commitment. And so we didn't do what we wanted to do. Maybe it was just me. Maybe he was just faking it, that he wanted to do things. He was kind of a boring guy. No, he was a lot of fun. But anyway, that's how religion, they love roping in young guys to make decisions, year-long commitments, and then making them stick with it. Because that is a muscle. Sticking with something is a muscle. That if you can get through that year of not wanting to do stuff, and but sticking with it because it was your decision, well, it builds a muscle where you can do more of that. And in his defense, he's married, he's got a family, and he's successful as far as money goes, and he's got a great woman. Um, I kind of helped with that, and I'm not married, but I'm a unique case. Um, I had problems all my life, but anyway, um, that's just kind of the difference there. Um, I first was introduced to intuitive thinking when I was in South Africa, because it's more of the way my theory, what I believe is like hunter-gatherer groups, way more intuitive than civilizations. And a lot of people hate that word civilization. I can explain why I think it's important to use it, because most people, the short of it, see civilization as this superiority thing, and that's exactly why we need to use it, because all these civilizationists try to put on this act as though they are not superior, they don't have a superiority complex by saying, oh, stop using civilization. No, you guys need to own it. You need to recognize that you guys think you're superior. Anyway, I could go on, and I will do a video about that eventually. I'm having a hard time getting started with my Creekside videos, but there's two that I want to talk about. And so I was introduced to it in South Africa, and like I say, I've noticed that I think that like the hunter-gatherer groups, the groups that are outside of Western civilization, are more intuitive. I believe that Christianity started out more intuitive because Israel was kind of a unique people group. I mean, not super unique, but unique now for sure, because they started out as wanderers. They were literally nomadic, just following God around, you know. And then, of course, they had to. They got they got punished and had to wander in the desert even longer before God brought them into the Promised Land. And God told them, He set up these feasts. Like one of them is called the Feast of Booths, which a better translation would probably be the caves. And where they had to go out and live in caves for like a weekend to remember that this is where you came from, that your ancestors were brought out from Egypt and had to live in the desert, and you need to remember that. So you can say that this is all made up if you want. I don't care. I'm just talking about the meaning of those stories. I'm not trying to push Judaism on anybody. So it made the Israelites kind of unique in that they were supposed to maintain that wandering, a society that wanders while living a sedentary lifestyle. They were supposed to not have a king. And that's intuitive. That's intuition, where, okay, God's telling us to pack up the camp and move there. And I think that's very similar to a lot of tribes, particularly like the Plains tribes, and where they had elders. They didn't have chiefs, kings like we do. They had elders who didn't, as Americans, we came in saying, oh, they're chiefs. They boss everybody around. But from what I've studied and learned, their chiefs didn't boss everybody. They held councils. People got to speak their mind. Chiefs were more like, hey, you've lived a long life, and we've all watched you, and we all respect you a lot. So your words carry a lot more weight than everybody else's. And so when you speak, we'll let you speak last. I don't know about that, but that's something that we would understand. Like we let you have the last word, so to speak. And maybe they just say, you know what, I just think, and they're more connected, and so they say, we need to move. We got to find the buffalo. It's time to move. And that's how Christianity was supposed to be. It's not supposed to be what we have now, of a pastor who represents consumerism. Like, you're the best consumer. You've got the most money. You've got the best looking wife. and a nice house. Therefore, you stand up in front and tell everybody how to live. Um, that's Christianity today. Generally, there's a lot of good, neat people in leadership roles, but I think the framework of it got very misguided, and so there's some neat people in a bad framework. And and there's a guy that I was listening to for a little while. I got sidetracked with Billy the Kid stuff, and he talks about how there was never, in the early days, there was never a preacher who stood up and told everybody. They would meet in church, in houses, people's houses, so that they could all be encouraged and built up. And I think that if people understood what Christianity started as and was supposed to be, there'd be way less hate. I think that a lot of the hate is warranted because we get these institutions that are, like I say, all about consumerism and all about bending young people into this mentality that serves civilization. And it has nothing to do with growth and edification. Edification, I also saw that for the first time in South Africa. Growing up as a kid, I didn't like church. I liked going and doing the kids' stuff, but I think it was in the third grade, they'd kick us out of that. So we had to sit through the sermons, and we had a particularly boring pastor. As an adult, I don't know if he was boring. I've heard some people say he was, but as a kid, I didn't know. And this was before we moved churches to a more exciting pastor. And so as a kid, I would just sit there watching the clock, and you had to sit still because any movement you made noise. The whole church could hear it. And I hated it. I'd never admit it because I felt that was wrong, but I hated it. And I couldn't admit it till I was way older. And then anyway, when I went to Africa, South Africa, I saw people enjoying going to church. Like they couldn't wait to get there. It was the highlight of their week. And because they would go and people would get a chance to share and talk, and that sharing and talking, like I know there's a lot of people that hate Christianity. I don't know if anybody's on here right now or will be watching this, but I know particular people. And so I want to say this for them. If you could set something up like this that was outside of church, take away the church connotation and just say, hey, once a week you're going to get together with your friends, talk about the things you've been learning, the hard times you went through this week, and be optimistic. Just hearing people talk about that is encouraging to you. Like, oh, okay, he's struggling too. We're struggling together. And then you sing songs together. In South Africa, they danced. That was a blast. I love dancing. And so we'd dance, we'd play music, and then you listen to each other talk about, hey, I'm struggling. That's what church is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a guy up there saying, hey, you don't have a wife as hot as me. You don't have a house as nice as mine. And this is why you're screwing up in life. I'm generalizing. I know it's not all like that, but essentially that's what a lot of the consumerism is. Anyway. All right, so that's intuition. Intuition is like living out in the desert, Israel living in the desert. Like, oh, we're told today that it's time to move. I've done that stuff. This is like a trivial example. Me and my brother hung out a few weeks ago. Oh, a month and a half ago. 5 weeks ago. And I was headed to town, and I saw my my speaker. I use a Bluetooth speaker, and I thought, oh, I need to grab that. Like just in here, I thought I need to grab that. And then I thought, but then up here, I was like, why do I want to grab that? I don't need that. And so I didn't grab it. Went to town. Sure enough, he and I were listening to some music from our childhood, and we had to listen to it on his phone. I was like, oh, that's why I was supposed to grab my speaker. It was a meaningful time. And had I had my speaker, it would have, we could have heard it better. It was hard to, so that just little stuff like that, that's intuitive. I mean, I know that's a trivial thing, but it's just stuff like that. And you find out that when you get in tune with that, you find out that your life can go in way different directions than, like I say, when you just make decisions and force your life into a direction that past you made. Anyway, all right. All right, let's see some of these comments. Do I think the rapture is near? No, I don't. There's not solid teaching about the rapture. You have to kind of come up with it as a, hey, this is our theory. And then there's a lot of arguments against it. I believe that the rapture is more designed to just create more fear. Once you realize how much fear is used by leadership, government, advertising, fear is a big tool in advertising. And you start to notice how much religion uses it. And when you realize the rapture wasn't even a part of, I don't know. I mean, the rapture can be debated. I think it's just one of the fear tactics. And I also believe that truth exists whether I believe it or not. And so if I'm wrong about anything, it doesn't matter. I'm not. Anyway, thanks, Deadwolf Resistance. It's basically worship of a devil god. That's just the way I see it. I'm a deist pagan by default. Yeah, interesting. Really quick there, I think a lot of people make their decisions on Christianity based off of what they see and what they've experienced. And I get it. I think that needs to be criticized, as I just criticized for over half an hour. But I think to truly pick at what Christianity was supposed to be, I think a lot of people would really at least like it a lot more. Like Nietzsche said, he said the only true Christian was Jesus, and they killed him for it. Everybody else after that, I mean, I think that there were some other true Christians. Like, I don't know if he read about all the martyrs and stuff, the people that were killed for their faith. The early days of Christianity was cool. The life expectancy of a church leader was like 6 months at one point of time. I mean, I know that's debated too. A lot of people want to rewrite history, and also a lot of it needs to be questioned too. But anyway, my point is, before the Roman government started making Christianity embracing it, it wasn't like popular and cool to be a Christian leader. In other words, it came with a lot of challenges, and so it was more pure because people did it because they believed it, not because they could own land or have recognition. So that's why if somebody says that it's worship of a devil god, I can't really argue that, because when you entice people because of recognition, that's pride. I mean, that's one of the big sins, or materialism. Like, yeah. Anyway, I won't go on and on. I could go on and on and on with stuff. For example, we had a killer youth ministry here in town when I was like 16. This guy was super talented. I don't know if he was blessed by God, but he was talented. For a town my size, I think we had 1,000 youth come into this thing. We used an airport hangar. And then because he was successful, all these churches saw him and said, hey, we want you, and we'll give you all this money if you come work for us. Like, instead of like, hey, I got something really powerful here, and continuing with it, he sold out and like, okay, yeah, I want more money. And he went somewhere else. And like, to me, I'm like, that's just business. That has nothing to do with God. Like, looking at that, let's say as an atheist, I would look at that and say, yeah, there's nothing about God with that. That was just business. This talented guy got up and spoke to kids. He knew how to lead, create small groups, and develop young people into leaders. He had a gift for that. So he developed this thing, and then which is typical. It's just like a startup, a business startup. Somebody who's talented at creating a business can start it up, and then investors see that and you sell it off. So now you sell a functioning business because there's people who are good at developing, and then there's people who are good at managing. I'm horrible at managing. And so you sell it off to people who are good at managing because they don't have the gift of developing. That's just basically what he did. He created this big thing to show off. It's just like making movies. You can make a first one, show off, this is my ability, and then you hope that you can sell to others. And that's why I'm trying to just post to YouTube and not have to deal with the others. And anyway, that was my example. Sidetrack. All right. I don't remember if I had a point before I said that I wasn't gonna go into it. Have you heard anything about the Pope making new rules? I've not been up on the Pope lately. About a month ago, I heard something about him, but I don't remember what it was. Hellfire judgment, blood sacrifice, it's all right there in the Bible. I grew up a hardcore fundamentalist. Yeah, okay. Well, now the blood sacrifice, I mean, Christianity stopped the blood sacrifice. But, and I'm not against the way that I understand sacrifices were done in the ancient times. Again, I saw sacrifice in South Africa, and it was way different. I just always imagined that that sacrifice meant you got to kill your best goat or your best sheep, and I just imagined that sacrifice meant you kill it and you leave it. But no. Sacrifice meant you kill it, you offer it to God by killing it the way that pleases God, and then you feast. A sacrifice is a feast. It's like a community gathering. It's like a potluck, except it's like a ceremonial thing. Like, I actually really like it. I think that we would have a lot more. I think that we'd have a better community if we practiced that. Like, if our community here every fall, certain people were delegated to take their best animal and sacrifice it, and then we all sit together and eat roasted beef and sheep and turkey and chickens all together as a community. I think that'd be amazing. I mean, it's way better than what we're doing now, where we've got all of our animals being tortured, essentially, leading miserable lives, and then through production, just churning them out as quick as they can produce enough meat to make it the highest profit, and then we go to the store and buy it and then eat it alone. I think our system is way more devilish, demonic than the old sacrifice system. But that's the sacrifice system as I understand it, not like the South America one of sacrificing your enemies. Real West Magazine, there you are. Finding kind of, hey, there you are. Okay, we were talking about you earlier. I got confused with the North Dakota and South Dakota. So hey, glad you made it. I'm hoping that people will trickle in, because I was surprised. Like I said, this week I found out one of my regular viewers, I think it was actually a friend of mine, if I remember who it was right, he didn't even know that it got moved. And he's a regular viewer, and I thought everybody got the word, but apparently the word is still slowly getting out. So I'm hoping that people will keep trickling in and this will work out. But I do wonder if I made a mistake by taking away our live stream group that was used to the live streams and enjoyed them and moved them to a different channel. So we'll see. I agree with you on that sacrifice style. Yeah. Sometime we should have a wild side sacrifice gathering. See how that scares everybody. If anybody's late to this, you definitely got to go back and hear what I said about sacrifice, because you will get the wrong idea. All you heard was a wild side sacrifice gathering. Context. So anyway, that's why I'm about living intuitively. That's why I did comedy. I wanted to do comedy. In retrospect, I don't regret my two years. It was essentially 2 years a little more. I don't regret it. I'm glad I'm out of it. And it was basically intuition that took me out of it. Um, it was like I did it. Uh, I got to that point of realizing this isn't fulfilling. As much as I love being on stage, being up there just sharing a bunch of dumb jokes. I mean, they're good jokes, but I mean, it's just, there's nothing. It's like emptiness. So you get done and it's like, I, I benefited myself and others basically a net zero. Um, like I love comedy. I think my favorite is in the midst of a meaningful story. Um, like even watching a comedy movie, I do love them. Like I like a good one, like Three Amigos, but it's not nearly as meaningful as like a Coen Brothers movie, where it's like a meaningful movie, and then it's got these hilarious parts interjected in it. Like to me, that's what I like. That's what is more meaningful. Hail my goddess, Mother Earth. Oh gosh, I hope you're being sarcastic, because that brings up feminism, and that's another video. I mean, you're welcome to express yourself, and you know that I don't. That I embrace. I'm glad you're here. I'm very anti feminism, but that takes a long discussion too, and we're already over an hour. I always freeze at the end. Do I say life's more fun on the other on the creek side? Hey, good call. Hopefully we don't freeze today. There's probably two reasons why that happens. Um, no, I did not think about saying the creek side. It didn't even occur to me. But no, it's still the wild side. I'm over on the wild side. This channel is just the creekside ponderings is where I was going with that. Like sitting by the creek, pondering and sharing that on the channel. So the creek side is still on the wild side. So yeah, good call. Um, remember, maybe I'll say, remember, life is a lot more intense and meaningful over on the creek side. um, I'm not worshiping feminism. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I trusted you. Dead Wolf Resistance. Um, oh, good. Truest Magazine. Same. A public sacrifice was a communal celebration of thanks to the god or gods. Done as one helps everyone remember everyone is a part of the greatness of the weakness. Yeah, totally. It got demonized by civilization because, you know, it's not efficient. It's not profitable to bother with that kind of stuff. So you demonize it, and now all of a sudden, you don't have to have communal celebrations. You can just bring in the profits to the church and not have so much expense. I got disappointed when I've got a good friend who's a Catholic, and I don't think it hurts him too much to hear my criticisms of religion, but it sucks because there's things that I love about Catholicism. There's things that I love about civilization. This is all stuff that I've had to come to grips with because I think it's right, not because it's like my emotions where I want to go. But in other words, there's things that I love about Catholicism, and they have a ton of feasts. They call them feasts. And so I asked my buddy, I was like, hey, how come they call them feasts, but you guys don't get together and feast? And I think it's a tradition that has gone away. Like most of those feasts, there's nothing about coming together and eating. And I think it harkens back to a time when they actually did, where the church was like, okay, well, we have to have these feasts to keep people in order. But eventually they figured out, well, we don't have to do that. We can just have them give their money. They don't have to bring their animals. And then if we don't have a feast, we can pocket all that money. I'm being very cynical here, so apologize to my Catholic friends, but I just think that's the way that it went. I think history shows that. And don't make me bring up St. Francis. St. Francis is my favorite saint. Oh, dang, somebody brought up George Carlin. I meant to bring up Carl Jung. Carl. Daggone it. I have an example about Carl Jung. It was when I brought up Nietzsche. I was gonna make my point about Carl Jung and Jesus. Anyway, um, what George Carlin said about God. Look it up. You'll act your ass off. I I think Carlin was a fantastic comedian. I've studied him a little bit, but he wasn't. His main thing was making good points or like funny points. He wasn't that deep. A lot of his stuff, it works because if you can give somebody something short, something funny, something that sounds sarcastic and makes other people sound dumb, it's easy to sway people to your side because nobody wants to look dumb. And that's what he did. Oh, you look dumb if you think anything different from me. And he was really good at it. Like I said, I studied how he did his comedy, but his points, it's like, sorry, dude, you didn't think that through. Um, I mean, it's it's again, it's kind of like intellectual porn, something that sounds right and it works as a joke, and so yeah, I'll go with it. Um, he made some good points too, but all right. Dead Wolf Resistance says, got to get a copy of that Thomas Jefferson Bible. He supposedly takes sissies to it. Yeah, yeah. There. Sometime I do want to talk about that subject too because I feel like that's one of my main issues. Is things like do nothing out of selfish ambition. Like that's a verse that I really tried to apply and thought it through. Like, what's selfish ambition? What am I doing out of selfish ambition? What comes from pure ambition? What is that? And I worked on that for decades. And but then so much of religion and even verses in the Bible, and this is what makes me wonder, that talk about, well, build up your rewards in heaven. It's like, well, now wait a minute. Was I learning to just be good from inside and not doing things out of selfish ambition, or am I making this decision because in the long run I'll get more? And again, I think that kind of stuff was emphasized. I don't know if it was added. That's a really deep dive, is finding out what was originally written versus what was added. And it's just like, we went through the medieval times. I believe Catholicism was really about, oh, don't worry about your life now. You're building a life later, which is exactly what you would want your masses to believe. Like, oh, quit trying to live a nice life now. You're going to have a nice life in heaven. Just keep working these poorly paid jobs that are meaningless, that took you away from your agricultural lifestyle, which was more fulfilling, where we gave you feasts. and just remember that life sucks now, but you're going to get it in heaven. And yet Jesus says the kingdom of God is right now. I believe that if there's a hereafter, if there's a life after death, it's eternal, or it simply is, and it can't be not now. That's illogical. It has to be right now. It has to simply be. And so therefore, when we are living right, meaning inside we're content, we're not, and we believe we're fulfilled, we are fulfilled, that's when we're living in the kingdom, so to speak, as far as New Testament goes. And nobody can take that away from us. But to put eternity into the future, and if you suffer at your job long enough and with the right heart, then you get into the eternal. That just doesn't make sense. And it's just too blatantly a manipulative tool. Anyway, all right. We are talking books that were written and rewritten by men for thousands of years. What could go wrong? Well, the whole rewritten thing, that needs to be substantiated. There's mistakes, but we have originals like the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's a big deal. The Dead Sea Scrolls are proven, what, 200 or 300 BC, 200 BC. So we have a copy of Isaiah that's essentially word for word with the later copy of Isaiah. And so there's parts that can be verified. However, the New Testament, I don't think that it is as solid. Um, I mean, obviously all of this is debated, but we have pieces that go back. I don't remember how old the oldest piece is, but we don't, like, the oldest complete version is pretty late. I don't remember. I got to study up on that to really talk about it. But in other words, the oldest, we do have the oldest that we can compare the new to. The problem is that translation is extremely difficult. Like if somebody was to take, okay, in English, if somebody listened to this 71 minutes that I've already talked and was to then go and tell somebody this is what he said, it would be way different from what I actually said, from what I actually meant, because the meaning is way different from what is actually said. So then that person would apply their meaning to it and tell it to somebody else. The person hearing it would then apply their meaning to what they heard. It wouldn't even be the meaning of what I said, because they didn't hear me. And so then but if all of what I said, all these 71 minutes were written, and then the person read it in the same language, well, we'd still have that problem of, well, he said this, but now you're not hearing inflection, you're not hearing tone. And so then they would take away their own meaning of what I said. Now, add a language, but that comes along with language isn't just, oh, we use different words. Languages have different meanings. That's not the best way to explain it, but like one quick example, Greek has 4 words for love. English has 1 word for love, and it sucks. Because if I say, I love that guy, that could really easily be taken as, oh, I'm gay for that guy. Which sucks, because no, I don't mean it that way. Like if you're with your wife and you're cuddling on the couch and you say, I love you, that has a way different meaning than, oh, I care about that guy, or that guy is important to me. In Greek, they have words for that differentiation. In English, we don't. And so to translate love from Greek into English, well, we can get the wrong idea. Like Jesus loved John. This is John, the disciple which Jesus loved. It's like, oh, and there's a lot of people that literally say, oh, they had a gay thing going on. Like, well, no, it's lost in translation. So going back, if my 71 words were written down, 71 minutes of words was written down and then translated into another language, now all of a sudden you got to get the meaning tried to convey into this other language. And languages are so different. Greek is extremely different from Spanish. Spanish is the love language. And anyway, we're at 74 minutes, so I'm not going to go into all of that right now. But that's the kind of stuff I want to make videos about. According to my favorite researcher, says King James was in fact gay. He might have been. Oh, all right. There's a lot more comments here than I thought. We're only getting the same. All right. I appreciate your guys' comments, but other people need to interject. Let's see. Got to get a copy of Thomas Jefferson. He was a theological deist. We're talking books that were written and rewritten for men. My jam had first printer type writer copier. Huh? Oh, King James had the first printer typewriter copier. According to my favorite research, it's not only what is written, it's how it's reinterpreted. Yeah, exactly. For the first 300 years, ideas we practice today would not be understood. Our earliest New Testament copies are from around. Oh, yeah, thank you. Okay. Um, and are those full books in 90 AD, or are those just certain books? I don't remember. Real West Magazine says, it's funny, I walked into the best video I could have. I study theology extensively. Oh, cool, with Western history. Yeah, it's a fascinating study. My problem is my favorite era is ancient Samaria, first Babylon kingdom, and the Akkadians and all the surrounding area. And so that's fascinating to see how religious belief developed and how the Old Testament, a lot of the early Old Testament stuff is actually very similar to the same religious thinking around them. So it's interesting to see how the one God came into being. And Zoroastrianism was very similar time to when they say that Abraham was called, which is a debated date. I think that 1400 seems pretty reasonable, if any of it happened. If I've got atheists or agnostics listening, this is the way it's written. This is all, if it happened, it can all be discussed. That's what I hate running into on Reddit, is the atheists just blanket. None of it happened. And even talking about it. So anyway, that's why I got this Christianity for atheists thing. Anyway, oh yeah, study. And then looking into Egypt to see if there was plausibility to somebody like Joseph going down there and win, which I again take more of the later position. And then watching civilization develop. So going back, earlier civilization had, they were closer to that hunter-gatherer lifestyle, and they had nomadic people coming in and conquering civilization and then adapting to civilization. So you have different mindsets, like these people who come from a culture of nomadic life suddenly taking over and building an empire. And now all of a sudden you have them in a civilization setting, but but a mentality of nomadic hunter-gatherer. So it's fascinating to see how all that develops, because even like I said, even in the time of Rome was developing, and the time of Jesus was early Rome, when Israel still got to maintain their lifestyle, but then later Rome, the culture really slowly took over and dominated, just like we're seeing in America. We used to have a way bigger contrast between rural people and city people, and now a lot of that city mentality, through spreading and through the internet and through indoctrination of kids, because people send their kids to public school, like in our valley, there's rural mindset people here, but we're getting flooded by city mindset people. We have a community page for our valley here, and a lot of us had to leave it because you've got these city people running it and just flooding the conversations. And like, for instance, the rural people, you'll get city people complaining, somebody was shooting their gun and I had to call the cops. And then the rural people are like, well, you moved into the county, that's what we do. And it's not even against the law, you can shoot your guns in the county. And so anyway, All right, I got to cut this down. I got my battery warning, so let's see. Let's finish up with these comments. How it's interpreted. It's funny walking into the, yeah, cool. I love it when people enjoy this kind of stuff because this is what I really want to talk about. This is more inspiring to me than doing my camping videos. I am a friend of a researcher by the name of Jeffrey Doherty. He was an evangelist for over 20 years. He was Jimmy Swaggart's. Wow. That's cool. Very cool. Yeah, he saw some stuff. The big churches, that's something that kind of bugs me, is a lot of, I mean, those mega churches, they are definitely a sect of Christianity, but they get a lot of the bad rap. I mean, I wonder how big of a percentage of Christians are actually in the mega churches versus the smaller churches that we see everywhere. Okay, folks, this has been awesome. This is the kind of stuff I love talking about. I love all history. I do love the Old West history. I didn't even get into that. I've been studying Billy the Kid's hat the last few days. Jeffrey was a rock star in the church. Huh, interesting. Yeah, I don't remember his name. I was named after, you know, the Crystal Cathedral. I was named after a Chinese pastor who was asked to go and be a part of the Crystal Cathedral before it started. The Chinese pastor was my parents' pastor, Richard Chen. My middle name is Chen, and I was named after him, but he didn't. I forget why he didn't join the Crystal Cathedral guy. I forgot that guy's name. All right, that's a fun fact. Everybody, this has been a whole lot of fun. I hope people stick with it. Go ahead and comment, even if you're not watching this live, which if you're not here by now, you're not watching it live. Feel free to interject and comment. Remember, this is about discussion. None of these points am I pushing. All of it's up for debate and discussion. There's no reason to fight and argue. Truth exists whether we know it or not. And so the goal is to learn it and find it. All right. Even though this is the Over on the Creekside channel, I want you to remember life's a lot more fun over on the wild side.